Hello everybody and welcome back to my channel. This is I Don't Want No Hearts. Thank you so much for being here. This video is going to be, I don't even know where we're heading with this right now. First and foremost, yesterday I hit 3,000 followers. And so I want to make sure that I say first off, thank you from the bottom of my heart so much for being here. Look, I'm like, cool. I got one of the microphone things. It's like right in the screen. I'm so cool. What was I saying? I want to thank you so much for being here. I want to take like a quick trip down memory lane, if you'll indulge me, to show you where I started and what has transpired since. So let me, you know what? I should have been more prepared. So there's a couple of things that are going on. Hold on. My normal editing software is not working. I don't know what's going on. It works fine and then it stops working. And then one day it just was working fine again. So I was using it and now it's just not working again. So whatever. So I'm using StreamYard to record and share my screen because I do not want to deal with the whatever. You don't care. Anyhow, let's take a look back at my very first video just to take a moment and just so this was September 22nd. Let's go ahead and take a look.
First and also last YouTube video. My name is Mallory. Last night, I was unable to sleep, like completely. I could not fall asleep. And for some reason, I had all these thoughts about MLMs that were going through my brain. So if you don't know me at all, if you are somebody who knows me and is just checking this out for the first time, I recently joined the anti-MLM movement. I have a history in MLMs. It's not very expensive, especially.
The really funny part about this is that I'm wearing a LuLaRoe hoodie. This is my favorite color is autumn. And I do love it because my favorite color is autumn. But I think it's hysterical that in my first anti-MLM video, so let's just
compared to a lot of the other people that are in the MLM community.
Whoops.
Or the anti-MLM community rather. And I recently realized what being in an MLM actually means. And so I've been watching a ton of content for like the past, I don't know, couple of months maybe, and following a lot of really well-spoken anti-MLM creators on Instagram and YouTube and TikTok, and watching all of the documentaries, LuLaRich that most recently came out, but also really diving into how MLMs closely parallel or mirror cults. And I started watching.
So we're not going to sit here and rewatch the whole 35 minutes, obviously not. But the reason that I wanted to just kind of show that is just the difference in how my background has changed. And I want to talk a little bit before we dive into some actual like anti-MLM content. I want to talk about how I've changed, who I was there compared to who I am now. I want to share a little bit about what I've learned as a YouTube. I don't know. Am I a YouTuber now? Is that like a thing? Do we call my whatever? As a YouTuber, okay, I want to share a few of the thoughts that I have and some of the experiences that I've had, because I think that for some of you that consume all of our content, there's a lot of you that are thinking like, I want to make a YouTube. I want to get into this and I want to share with you my experience and what I have learned, which I've already said. Like when I tell you that this video is completely unplanned, it's completely unplanned. Okay. So September 22nd, 2021, this was the day that I just like couldn't sleep. Like I said, I wanted to talk about what I was learning. I wanted to explain myself and just hear myself say it out loud, which I think is like very crucial. And, you know, up until 2020, I had always worked in a brick and mortar. Always. I had always been able to go to work and talk to people and kind of, when something would happen at school, be able to like talk about it in the teacher's lounge and be like, oh my gosh, did you hear about this? Or if something happened in the news, be able to go in and say, did you read what blank and blank did today? And I was able to have those conversations. So in a world where I was working in brick and mortar, had I been learning about MLMs, I likely would have been talking to my coworkers until they probably hated me about it. That's probably what would have happened. And so I remember this night vividly. Like I did eventually sleep, but like I was ADHDing bad about like, I just got to talk about this. So the next morning I woke up early. I made this account. I made the Instagram account. I made a TikTok account and I just started posting. And I literally just hit record and just started talking about what I did, kind of like what I'm doing right now. I'm just talking about what's on my heart and that sounds so MLM-y, but I'm sorry. What's on my mind? That's what I want to talk about. So over the last, let's say September, October, November, December, January, March, April. So it's the end of April. So 7 months. I've been doing this for 7 months. And when I started it, again, like I said, I just wanted to talk. I just wanted to express how I was feeling. And as I started doing that, I started to get viewers. This video right now has 616 views. I think like at the lowest point, like before I started really growing, it had like 400 views, right? It was not a lot. This is clearly not my most viewed video. And when I started, it was purely just to talk. Then I started realizing that people were resonating with what I had to say. People liked listening to me. People were engaging with me. And my flyaways, my platform started to grow. And then it became that people wanted my opinion on things, which was a extremely humbling experience. For me to get videos sent to me and have people say, I really hope you're going to do a reaction video to this. I really want to know what you have to say. That, to me, was just incredible. Anytime I received a message like that, I was like, I can't believe that people want to know my opinions on something. And they're asking me to talk about it. Thank you. Thank you for valuing my opinion. Thank you for valuing what I say. Thank you for being critical when criticism is needed. But thank you for caring and valuing me as part of your cult manipulation education. And that's what this has kind of turned into for me, is that it's an educational platform. I am a teacher at heart. Everybody take a shot. If you know, you know. I am a teacher at heart. I am a teacher currently. And so everything I do comes from a place of how can I educate and not just give my opinion. It's one thing to give your opinion, but it's another thing to say, this is what we're looking at. This is textbook. Let's talk about why, right? That's my main goal always. So around December, it was like, I think it was Christmas Eve, was when I reached 1,000 subscribers and 4,000 view hours. And I would not have done that without a couple of things, right? One, Chelsea Suarez gave me a shout out on her video, on one of her videos. And it was because we were both in a Monat call together when WFAB was exploding. I believe it was the call that I went live as Barb, but it might not have been. It's all kind of a blur. But my video where I went live as Barb kind of blew up in small terms, like not hugely viral. We're not talking millions of views. We're talking like 5,000 views. Okay, but for me at that time, that was blowing up. For anything that I had created to get 5,000 views, that was crazy to me. And I started getting a ton of followers. And then Chelsea mentioned me in the video. And for some reason, that also worked. There have been times where other people have mentioned other content creators, or Chelsea's mentioned other content creators, and it's not garnered a huge following bump. And I'm not saying like you need a big creator to shout you out. What I'm saying is that for some reason, that particular shout out did benefit me. And I'm grateful for that shout out. But it is because of those two situations that I say growth like mine in such a short period of time, I don't believe to be typical. It's not typical. I mean, when I started this YouTube, I had no subscribers. Nobody, no one at all. No one knew me from Adam. Nobody knew anything from me. And I'm not saying that to brag. I'm not saying that to be like, look, but I'm saying that, I sought out to create quality content. I sought out to reach you all on a human level. And so that's where I am. I think what's really important is that everybody needs to understand content creators, content consumers, people who hate us for posting what we do. I think what's really crucial to understand, and this is what I have learned, and this is like the whole point I was trying to get to, 10 minutes ago, is that your initial reasoning for starting something can change as the scenarios change. When I started it, I just wanted to talk. I said in probably 3 videos, this will probably be my last YouTube video. I said that 3 or 4 times. And then eventually I was like, all right, clearly I'm going to keep doing this. But when I started it, I had no intention of it going to where it is now. None at all. Speak and just like get my thoughts out. It was that people cared about what I had to say. So then, and there were things happening and I wanted to say more. So I wanted to create more content. And the trap that I did fall into, that I think is why we all were drawn to MLMs, those of us who were in MLMs, is that when you see those numbers, when you see that one video does better than the next one, and the next one is better than the last one, you get that dopamine hit. You're like, oh my gosh, this is great. And then when you have a video that doesn't do well, you're like, shit. Like this video. This will not be my highest viewed video. Not for any other reason other than I'm not covering some dramatic content. Now, maybe if I come up with a title that's like super, super catchy and like grabs you and pulls you in, and now you're like, where's the drama, right? I'm not uncovering some drama. The videos where I'm uncovering a scandal or gossip, those are the ones that do the best, right? And I'm clearly not doing that today. And so I know that going in. So this video is more in line with my original content, like my original purpose. But sometimes we create content because we want to get more views. We see a scandal developing. We see something and we're like, that's going to get more views. And I want to talk about the desire to get more views. Why do we as content creators want to get more views? Is it just for numbers? Is it just for, I just want to have that number. I just want to be able to say this video got 10,000 views. A little bit, yes. And I think we would all be lying to ourselves. Every single YouTube creator would be lying to ourselves if we didn't say that part of why we make content now is because we enjoy seeing the view number go up. But to that extent, the more views mean the more that your message is being heard, the more that your education is getting out. So it is not just to get views. It is because what I have to say, I believe is important. And so I want more people to hear it because I believe that I have an important point of view. And not everybody has to agree with that. Not everybody has to think that my point of view is accurate or good or valid. Well, everyone's point of view, maybe not. You don't have to agree with me. But my point is that the more views, then that lets me know that people are hearing my words. People are consuming what I have to say. And maybe I'm changing minds. And I have seen the receipts. People have responded to me that I am changing minds. I am helping people leave their MLMs. I am helping people see race issues differently. That was like one of the most monumental situations for me the past 7 months was when somebody messaged me. I had talked about a racial issue that I had experienced in one of my former schools. And the way I talked about it, this woman said that I opened her eyes. I helped her see the whole thing differently. And to me, that was massively, and that was incredible. That was incredible. And so it became an educational platform for me. not just debunking lies, not just because honestly, when we look at anti-MLM content, and I don't mean the content creators, I mean the content that we receive to react to. I mean, at this point, it is all the same, right? It's the same basic lie. It's the same basic manipulation. It's just got a different face, a different hun hat, a different song, a different trending sound, but it's all the same. So we end up saying just the same thing over and over again, right? And then we add in the other element of being monetized. And I think that this is one of those things that we get criticized, especially in the anti-MLM community. We get criticized the most for. And I can deal with criticism. I'm a teacher. Take a shot. I'm a teacher. I get criticized. Teachers get criticized for breathing wrong. Okay. Like whatever. Being a teacher is one of the most criticized jobs in America. Right below it, not right below it, but it's because I'm a teacher that I can handle the criticism that comes from people who criticize what we do, how we do it, and why we do it. So anti-MLM content, at some point when you reach a certain, so if you don't know, the threshold is 1,000 subscribers and 4,000 watch hours. Once you have reached that, you are eligible for monetization. And you do have to apply. And I mean, the application is like, do you agree? Click, 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 and you're done. Like, it's not like they're going to look at your application, consider, did you meet the criteria? You met the criteria, cool. It's basically like joining an MLM because you just basically have to have a pulse and have met criteria, except you have to do some work first to join YouTube as a monetized creator, whatever. So it's nothing like an MLM. I have said before, because a lot of the people who are against us like to make the argument of, you're doing all this for free. You're doing things and you're not getting money. You're sharing that you drink Starbucks and nobody's paying you. And I have said before, and I still stand by it, you can do things just for the pleasure of doing them. You can create content just for the pleasure of creating content. You can do anything you want purely for the pleasure and not have to have a dollar value attached to it. It is perfectly acceptable. And that's how all of us started out. All of us that are currently doing YouTube, whether we are monetized or not, we are all doing it because we enjoy it. We believe in what we're saying. We want to do it. When you get monetized, and until you start really growing your platform, you're not making much. And that's like the really laughable thing too. They say, oh, you're making money off of these views. Well, first of all, YouTube is not saying make a full-time income making YouTube videos. YouTube is not recruiting people to start making videos. I'm doing it. They're just like, if you want to make ads, if you want ads on your videos, if you want to make money, here's what you have to do. Do it, don't do it. We do not care. So it's not the same. Not to mention it's ad revenue. So unless you're paying a subscription to YouTube, which I do, I have the streaming service, you don't pay a dime. You don't pay a dime. So that's the first thing. The second thing is that eventually some things that you do, it is okay to be compensated for the effort you put into it. It's okay to do things for fun as a hobby and receive a little bit of compensation to just pay for your time. And that's okay. You don't have to turn that down. You don't have to look at that and say, no, I do this for fun. No, if there is a platform for you to receive a little bit of compensation because you are putting in time and effort, then that's okay too. And we don't need to demonize or villainize the people that would receive any kind of money from it. And so when we get to that point, and I will fully admit, you start seeing the analytics, you start seeing the numbers, and you start thinking, I only made this much last month. I'm going to put out a couple more videos so I can make it more. Do you need the money? I mean, am I making a living on it? No. It's just like I want to beat the next goal. And I don't love that part of it. And so I'm trying to like restructure how I think about my YouTube channel. It's not about how much money I'm making per month. It's about the content. But that's why I liked MLMs. That's why I like, because it was like a goal I had to hit every month, but it was also an anxiety inducing goal and it frustrated me. I don't want to create that same environment in YouTube. So you've got people who are doing this just because they want to. And I believe that that's how all of us started out. They're doing it because they believe in it, they're passionate, and that's how they wanted to do things. Then you've got people who are like me, not a huge following. 3,000 people is a large following to me, but in the grand scheme of YouTube, that's not a huge following. And I appreciate every single one of you being here. And so as I keep making content, sure, I'll probably keep growing, but I have a full-time job. This is a hobby in which I make a small little amount of money per month, maybe a couple $100 if I'm lucky. Okay. Nothing great. Oh, income claim. That's okay. I'm not also telling you that you can do this and make a couple $100, right? Because I'm not telling you that you can. And that's the other thing I also want to talk about, is that the idea of, if I can do it, you can do it. No, that's not entirely true. My situation, it was very unique and very particular. And that's why I brought up Chelsea. And that's why I brought up going live as Barb on that WFAB call. Those situations were just like right time, right place, very unique. That doesn't happen for everybody. It just doesn't. And for whatever reason, people grow at different rates. So now I'm at 3,000 and maybe it takes me the entire year to get to 4,000. Who knows? Who knows? Okay. And then you've got people who eventually get to they have enough subscribers. They're making money as a full-time job. And you have to understand. And so I want to talk to you as a YouTuber, to the consumer of our content. You have to understand that when this becomes your full-time job, things have to change. You have to change your priorities. Sometimes you have to change your goals. Sometimes you have to look at, all right, I'm going to do this as a full-time job. So what is the content that will make me the most money? You can't fault people for that. People are allowed to change their intentions, their goals, their minds. They are allowed to shift what they want to create. And if you get to a point where you have enough subscribers and you are able to bring in a full-time income from just creating content, absolutely, more power to you. But now you have to start looking at it as a business, which makes sense. And so when anybody criticizes people because they've changed, they're not who they were when they started. Well, no, none of us are. Because if you are doing this for the right reasons, right? And if you want to say people are doing it just for the money, nobody starts out doing this just for the money. You just don't. Because I believe that if you start out with this, and this is just my opinion, in my experience, if you start out doing this because you want to become a huge YouTuber, then you are just doing it for the money. Okay. And maybe in the back of your head, when you start, you're like, maybe I'll get a huge following and maybe I'll be able to do this as a full-time job. No one's saying that that's not in the back of some people's head. That was never in my mind. I never thought I would be doing this in a million years, like making any kind of money off of it. Okay. But because when you start, you have no guarantee of pay. You have no guarantee of viewership, nothing. Everybody starts with a purpose of, I want to talk. I want to share my ideas and what I do with the internet and see if anybody cares. But when you get to the point where you are making money or you are having to put in more time and effort and it is a full-time job, your priorities, your focus has to change. And it is unfair of us to judge or criticize anyone because they're not doing what they did before. They're not viewing things. They're just, if you don't see them as the way, maybe they're a little bit more stern. Maybe they have a tone that's a little bit different, but they have changed. I have changed. I have had to create boundaries and limits and understand that I don't have to answer every single direct message. I don't have to answer every single comment. Back when I started, I did because I wasn't getting a ton. So I was able to answer every comment. Now it's not a ton of comments, but it's a lot to answer every comment. So you heart every comment. And then eventually get to the point where you're like, I just can't, right? You have to give people the grace and flexibility to understand that they are going to change as their circumstances change. And you cannot expect them to be rigid and stay exactly the way that you want them to be. So you either have to accept that people are going to change and you can either change with them or not. And you also have to understand that change oftentimes comes with learning and development and growth. Who I was in September was not nearly as, in my opinion, educated or smart as I am now. I did not know so many things back then. So many things. I have reevaluated how I look at friendships, how I look at how I respond to things. I have experienced in this past 7 months creators who have come and gone, creators who I have had conflict with, and me trying to figure out what is the best way, what is the most mature and appropriate way for me to handle any conflict I might have with another creator. And at the end of the day, conflict that I have with another creator, you don't know about. You, the consumer, have no idea, because we have, what there was a video somewhere where somebody said, oh, they're all friends. Well, yes, you develop friendships. I have developed some of the closest friendships with people I have met on Instagram because we all have the same goals. We all have the same mentality. We all have the same values and morals. And when you find those people, yeah, you gravitate towards them. And there have been people that I thought I was going to be friends with, and then we realized that we don't line up on some things. And so you just drift apart, because at the end of the day, we are all strangers on the internet. No matter how much I talk to Michelle Carpenter every single day, I have not yet physically met her. And so she could just ghost me. She could just decide that we are not going to be friends anymore and just disappear. And I have no other way to reach her, because we're all just strangers on the internet. So I have learned a lot about how we respond to people, how I want to respond. I have learned to not instinctively respond to messages that might be inflammatory. I have learned to sit on things for a day or two to process how I'm feeling and see if I still feel the same way the next day. I have learned to write story posts in my notes, and after I've written it, to see if I still feel strongly enough about it to post it. And the answer is most of the time, no. And I've learned that because I created a story post once reflecting on myself, and someone thought I was talking about them, and I was not even close to talking about them. So if I had maybe written that as a note and just wrote it down and been like, all right, I wrote that. Do I need to post that? Probably not. Or do I need to edit it? Do I need to pare some things down, cut some things out? Yeah, let's do that. I have learned a lot of techniques, coping mechanisms, and I've learned a lot from my new friends that I've made. I've learned a lot that sometimes you're going to offend people and you can't do anything about it. All you can do is say, I am sorry that I hurt you. It was not my intention. Sometimes, and I've also learned how to make a good apology. There's a difference between saying, I'm sorry you felt hurt by what I said, because that's not apologizing for what you said. To rephrase it, it is, I am sorry that what I said hurt you. I never meant to. Unless you did mean to, then you should rethink your apology. But I have learned how to not put the burden of blame onto the person who has been offended. I have also learned that sometimes people are going to freak out for no reason. And I'm not wrong. And I don't owe them an apology. And they're making a mountain out of a molehill. And I've learned to respect that that is something they need to work through. And I don't owe them an apology. I don't owe this, that, and the other. I have learned that I don't owe people anything all the time. There's been a lot of lessons that I've learned. And so I wanted to share some of those with you, which hopefully I have in the past, however long I've been talking, 29 minutes. Good Lord. Good Lord. If you're still here watching this, I really appreciate you, because I honestly had zero plan for what this is going to be about. But I just hope that everybody knows. My takeaway from this video of me reflecting on reaching 3,000 subscribers, and I mean, I'm almost at 5,000 on Instagram. This is insanity. My goal at the end of the day is to always educate. And I know there's people out there who are creating content that is about how bad we are as the anti-MLM community, genre, movement, whatever word you want to use to describe us. There are people who have put my face in thumbnails, to try and make me look bad. Okay. There's nothing, I know fully well that when you post something on the internet, like I'm going to post this on the internet, people are going to have strong opinions one way or the other. There's just no avoiding that. And to remember what your initial mission, your goal is for this, is what keeps me grounded, what keeps me centered in why I'm doing what I'm doing. I have spent a lot of time preparing for the FTC Comment Palooza that is happening on May 7th into May 8th. There are a bunch of creators who are going to be live at different varying hours over the course of 24 hours in an effort to be present on the internet to remind you to write comments. And I am creating an hour-long musical show because I guess why not? Even though clearly I could just talk for an hour and some of you would listen. And I'm doing that because I just want to. I want to create something that will entertain you, that will remind you to do something good for this movement. And that is my only goal with that entire thing. The way my content direction is going to be going, I have 3 interviews set up with former Monat market partners who are going to talk about how they left. My current direction right now is to give people a platform for Monat to talk about how they left, why they left, especially ones who are not higher up, so that people who are just market partners can hear other just market partners talk about things, and maybe they'll say, oh, that is also happening to me. Again, educational, providing opportunity for people to share their story. And if you are watching this and you are someone who says, well, I had a great experience in my MLM and everything I did was great and I've made success, well, that's great. Goody two shoes for you. But you having a good experience does not mean that everyone else's negative experience doesn't matter. That is an argument that we can use for anything that is controversial. For example, I have not experienced, that I know of, a pay gap because I'm a woman. I've not experienced that. And as teachers in Pennsylvania, it is not based on your gender. You make this much because you have this education and you're this year coming in, whatever. That's how much you're going to make. All starting teachers start here regardless of gender. But that doesn't mean that the pay gap doesn't exist for women. And it would be irresponsible for me to say, well, I never experienced that, so I'm not going to care about it. Well, no. Because I've not experienced it, I need to fight for other people to also not experience it. And that's what the anti-MLM movement is about. I experienced it, other people experienced it, so we're fighting so that no one else experiences the bad things. At the end of the day, that's what we're all here for. So I'm going to wrap this up because honestly, I probably could ramble on for another 30 minutes about my thoughts and feelings. But I wanted to say just one last time, thank you for being here. I have, these parodies and these characters, and a lot of my content can be funny and a lot of my content can be serious. Like this one kind of is. Like, I don't think I said anything that was funny today. Did I? Probably not. I didn't have any jokes lined up. But I appreciate you being here and I appreciate you listening, because to me, it is important that we educate and grow and learn and be willing to change and be okay with change. And when we see others change, we say, they have changed and I either need to change with them, accept that they've changed, or move on, right? we cannot expect everybody to stay stagnant and rigid exactly as they are the minute we met them. So thank you for 3,000. Here's to the next 1,000. I value you all so incredibly much. Thank you for being here. And remember, through kindness, education, empathy, and patience.